Jonathan.
How's it going?
Good. Gentlemen.
I feel like I haven't seen you guys in
I know,
2 days.
I know.
Yeah.
You guys do a good job. I
Really,
think
we
I
really
tell
should
you
get
guys
together more
enough, or
often.
probably too much. You guys do a great job. You really do a great job. I have to ask these questions, so I
Maybe a cookie?
sometimes just be
One of those
so I
little
can tell
brownies?
I ask those questions, right?
I feel like we need about 3 months off after this. We've had a lot of meetings all of a sudden.
No.
Good
wait a
3 or
minute,
4 month
wait.
break.
Oh, this is the guy that wanted more meetings,
I know.
which I totally
Careful.
support.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's right.
Yeah.
We yes. Let's schedule more meetings, and then if we have to lay off one, then we're good. But
All right. Is Laura? Did Laura texted you?
Laura's not coming.
Oh, she's not coming.
Oh,
I heard that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
That's what I heard.
News. Okay, I guess. And then Tim. I guess. Has anybody heard from him?
I have not.
Do we know if he's coming or not? Let's give another minute.
He was there Tuesday, right? But he didn't. Kind of came in later.
I didn't see him if he
I
went
didn't see him on Tuesday.
I thought he was in the back.
Oh, he was?
back in.
I think he snuck in late and didn't say anything.
We have a quorum, so we can get started. Good deal.
Really?
Six
John
more.
reminded
Well,
me.
we're a minute late.
And I was
That's not acceptable. Okay, I don't have my cheat sheet, so I'll figure it out. I don't know.
Pro now, man. Just
So I'll call this meeting to order, and I'll take a motion for the approval of the agenda of May 2nd, 2019.
so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of the April 4th, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Second. And that was fast. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Perfect. And moving on to the meat of the agenda tonight, conditional use permit for 1520 Swift LLC. I will turn it over to staff for comments. Is that first? Yes.
First, about the process. So the conditional use
Procedure.
permit before you tonight does require a public hearing, which we're all here for. We published notice in the Kansas City Star 15 days ago and posted signs at both of the properties that are involved in this application and sent notices to property owners within 185 feet. I would note before we have the applicant give you the overview of this, that it's an interesting use and it's a big building, but we are really only here to talk about a portion of it. It is a legal non-conforming use. So the building was developed, we believe, before we adopted our very first zoning ordinance. And it's been pretty continuously used, so could continue to be used for industrial uses without providing any on-site parking because of its age and the fact that it takes up so much of the lot. The change of use, though, does trigger the parking requirement. And so we are really focusing tonight on the change of use to retail and office uses within the building and providing parking for those areas within the building. And that's the purpose of this conditional use permit. So that's the process. Unless you have any process-related questions, I'd be happy to turn it over to the applicant at this time.
Questions on process? Nope. Great. So we go ahead and turn over to the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Warman. I'm with Warman Architects. I'm the architect working with 1520 LLC. I think Sarah kind of summarized it from the standpoint that we are here tonight requesting a conditional use permit to construct 42 parking spaces on a lot at 15th and Erie, which is non-contiguous with our building and lot at 1520. But those 42 spaces would be, a new lot would be constructed there on private property and would exceed the requirement of the 4.5 per thousand parking needed for the couple of areas within the building at 1520 that would be the change of use, which would be the retail and the office. So certainly if you have, my client is in agreement with the conditions of staff's, and certainly we agree with staff's recommendation of approval. If you have questions of me or anyone here, we'd be happy to introduce the rest of our group or answer questions.
I do have one question, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding the facility is going to have growth, production, and retail.
That is correct.
So we're really talking about the parking for the retail portion of that. Are we good with the parking for the growth and production employee parking type of stuff? Or is that all inclusive?
No, I think that the parking for anyone that would be working in the building would probably be relegated to the 59 spaces that are across the front of that building. It's 2 blocks long. Certainly, the 42 spaces that are provided on the private property could also be used for employees. It's not prohibited, it's just, it meets the requirement for the office and for the retail. So it's be used for any purpose in this building.
Okay.
So approximately how many employees would you foresee? And
I'm
maybe
going to
a
defer.
question for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to defer to somebody here if they'd like to talk about, and I'll let you introduce yourself to the commission.
Yes, good evening. I met a couple of you outdoors before I came in. Randall Crawford. I'm an attorney. My partner, Jack Mitchell, over here on the other side of Brooks. I think everybody knows Brooks. And the numbers, let me look for Kathy. Yeah, help me with the numbers
Yeah,
here.
I was going to say, this is the small, for the visually impaired version. So let's go back one here. So basically, in terms of
Yeah.
parking, yeah, there's 40 spaces required on private property. The lot at 15th and Erie will provide 42, and there's existing parking along our frontage on the west side of Swift only, on our side of Swift, which is 59 spaces.
Mhm.
So in terms of the number of employees that will be working in shifts in the building, that's something that I'm not sure
Yeah.
is quite set yet.
And I might get a little help over here from these people, but at least on the dispensary end of it, the retail end of it, probably no more than maybe 5 employees in there at one time. Upstairs, maybe 10 employees in that location, so that's 15 employees that would have between those two. The other parts will be phased in over time as far as the grow facilities and the like. Assuming if all 3 grow licenses were issued, we're probably looking at, I don't know, Jack, 20 employees per grow, you think?
Well, if you count the production and the manufacturing, right, you're probably getting up closer to about 30 to 35
Okay.
total for each of the.
Per license, so if there were 3 licenses in there, that'd be another, what, 105 people potentially?
Okay. Good operation. Good. Questions?
In other words, this parking would be enough for the end product. I mean, when you're done, you still have enough parking for everybody.
Yeah, I think, because if I understand Kathy correctly, with the 59 spaces outside are conforming to that use as well, so that would be there as well.
Now, would there be any other thing that would happen that would need parking like they're needing now because of the retail space or?
Well, the thing to keep in mind is that because this is a legal non-conforming building, they're not required to provide any parking for the industrial uses in the building, just like the building's not required to provide that parking today. So you could start manufacturing widgets in that building without providing any on-site parking for any employees. So they're required to provide the parking to serve the retail and the office components, which is what they're doing with this conditional use permit. But, you know,
Well, Sarah, I think that's appropriate, but we're not talking about widgets.
right,
We're talking about something that we really don't know a lot about. You mentioned 3 grows.
Yes.
I'm kind of equating that to 3 shifts of people,
No, the
coming
thr-
and going,
the-
or
The 3 grows would be 3 licenses to grow marijuana.
those would
in
be
the building.
happening simultaneously.
They would be happening simultaneously, yes.
So you could have 3 times the employees
No, not,
using that building.
not in excess of the roughly 105 people, no.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just want to be sure.
Yeah.
Because it,
Yeah, no.
I appreciate what you're saying, but
We-
it's not
we-
widgets.
yeah.
Talking,
Yeah, we
we're
will
talking
not
something
have.
a little
we-
different here.
Yeah, we will not have 315 people.
No, I
at
get
all.
you. Okay, great.
I was just kind of looking at the packet. What, the proposed parking space, what's there now? I'm just trying to didn't get a chance to drive by there. Is it a parking lot currently? It's just an updated, is it a abandoned lot? It's kind of hard to tell from the pictures.
It's essentially being used now for parking tractor trailers and things like that. It's gravel, partially, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yeah, I know where it is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I drive by there, and it seems like there's always kind of something different going on, but, no, I get what you're saying, sure.
Something else that I might mention on the parking, and based on my understanding, and again, I am the architect for kind of the site and the exterior of the building. The interior and its operations is not my area of expertise, but what I've learned, and that even though the city has a requirement of parking for retail at 4.5 per thousand, which is great, this is not, the dispensary portion of this isn't your normal retail store. It's not where there's just, people, floods of people, coming in or whatever. It's very clinical. It's almost like there's minimal, there's kind of a set number of people that can kind of come through at any one time, so there's not hordes of people that are coming through
So
that part
what
of
you're
it.
saying is they have to have an appointment to come and get their, because we don't know that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it could be a rush.
No, they don't have to have an appointment to come there. They can come in during normal business hours, they can come. I think maybe what Kathy was referring to a little bit too, the way the regulations are being drafted right now by the Department of Health and Senior Services, we can only one person per, and they call them bud tenders, the people that are back in the space where the product is.
Okay.
If we had 4 employees back in that space, then 4 people could come back there from the public. That has to be a 1-to-1 ratio between the patient and the bud tender.
So they'd have to queue up and,
You have to queue up in a room where we have security when they come in. We got to check to make sure that they do have a medical card.
that's cool,
To allow
but you
them to
could
go back.
still have a line of people out the door. I'm thinking way ahead, right? So we're dancing around the product, but it's an unknown. And don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed. I
Yeah.
think this is a great thing. But there's a lot of unknowns.
There is.
A lot of
Yeah,
unknowns.
Missouri's never done it before. North Kansas City's never done it before.
That's right. That's right. So we're excited, but we're kind of treading lightly a little bit.
Yeah.
I do have a question too. We were talking about, I know we're talking about parking, but there's a lot of other things that go into that. And this might be a question for staff, but I'm looking down, like on page 4, it talks about, compliance, and it talks about things like traffic and noise and odors, and I don't know that we know that stuff. Sarah, there's a question at the top of page 5. It says, other potential impacts may be addressed by the site plan review process. So is there going to be another opportunity for us to talk to these folks about, what we're going to do with that building? And we're just here to talk about parking?
We're just here to talk about parking.
Okay.
The site plan process would
Alright.
be a follow-up step after this,
Okay.
but that's an administrative process that goes through staff. It does not come to the planning commission.
And I may be thinking way off base here, but traffic, we don't know, right?
Right.
We just don't know. We have to think about traffic. Parking's one thing. Traffic's a whole nother thing. And then, of course, odor and all that that's a whole nother thing. But in my opinion, the parking is a kind of a non-issue. So
The odor issue, I'll be happy to
the
address.
odor issue, well, that's for another meeting, right?
Yeah, that's for another meeting.
That's for another
I'm
meeting.
glad to talk
So,
about that now.
Traffic and odors for a whole nother
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
So, parking.
One parking question I might have is, this would be a private lot then, correct? Or would it be something that, we've talked a lot about in our master plan, the idea in our parking planning to have shared parking, where needed is, if we got to the situation down the road that we're squeezed, would we be coming back later to then ask permission, that it could be used after a certain period of time, like we've done with other lots in the city? I just wasn't sure how that would fit into this.
Well, we have, I would say, I couldn't speculate. It would be hard for me to speculate about that. I doubt in this location that the city would be very interested in establishing a license agreement like we have with Northtown Devco for the lot off of Clay, just because it's, pretty far from downtown, which we'd like downtown to grow, but it's probably not going to get to 15th Avenue in the next,
Okay.
in the short term.
Not in the near future.
So I guess that's a possibility, but I don't think we know that right now.
What kind of enforcement, I guess, kind of parlaying off Byron's point, what you have to enforce that the use for that specific lot will be for your building? Because I know there's already other establishments, the kombucha place, there's Baylor Garage, it's really close, where people might park in that lot. And I imagine you would want that to not happen, but at the same time, I don't want to create a bad experience for patrons coming to North Kansas City that are parking there. Are you going to have signs that will?
It will be posted, and
Okay.
not only that, but we will have security 24/7 in that building, and there will be video cameras on that, live cameras coming
On the
back to
lot.
our security service, so they will be monitoring that
Okay.
lot all the time.
Okay.
So if we see somebody there, a car parked, and they don't walk our way, we'll have a process to go down there and ask them to
Okay.
remove their car.
Okay.
It just kind of goes into our point. Something we've been trying to do with parking overall is one of our findings was that the signage can be confusing across the city. So keep in mind as you're developing that I think it would be a good idea to make sure the signage is clear and maybe consistent,
been a
visible.
problem.
And we've been having meetings with the police and the fire department, and we'd certainly be glad to have that meeting too, to make sure our signage meet with what you guys want to see. We're more than happy to do that, and
I don't
would
know if
like
we-
to do that.
I don't know if we've got our standards yet, but we're hoping to move to, something that's more uniform across the city.
Sure, yeah, no, we definitely want to participate in that process, so it looks the way you want it to look and says what you want it to say.
That's a great point. And it's not necessarily what we want. People tell us all the time, God, I went down there and I couldn't figure out where to park.
Yeah,
I didn't know what I could do. So it needs to be very clear,
sure.
which is true. And I'm not so much worried about the retail parking. I'm more concerned about, and this is a little weird because I love that we're going to bring in employees, but if we suddenly flood that area with a whole lot more employees, I'm a little worried, and that's kind of an industrial district, right? There's a lot of truck traffic, a lot of traffic down there. And I know that's for another, but I just want you guys to be thinking about this.
Sure.
Because I'm going to ask these questions later. That's another thing is, is the traffic, the parking going to, disrupt or even more congest that area? That's a concern. If not, fine, but that's a concern.
Yeah, I don't think the employee traffic will at all, and again, the unknown is how many people are going to have coming through the dispensary.
I think that, to me, that's going to be pretty transient. I mean, I think they're going to come and go and come and go.
Yes,
But the traffic with employee parking and, it depends. It's an unknown, I grant that, but just so you guys know what I'm thinking about.
sure.
Let's not congest that area and then we're going to have a fight over, well, I work here so I can park here, or I work over there so I can park there. And I know, and Sarah hates it when I talk about parking, but parking is a big deal, not just here. Parking's a big deal.
One of the things we're going to do too is be as green as we possibly can, and I don't mean that. To be
I
green
love
in the
it.
building,
I
right?
love it.
But to be as green as we
works.
possibly can. But we're going to encourage our employees and have programs to encourage them to come there other than driving their vehicle. If they're living in North Kansas City, ride your scooter, ride your bicycle. If there's a public transit method to do it that way as well. That will be part of our policies for that business.
And there is a bus stop at both ends, at 14th and 16th, right there at the corner of Swift.
And you might even help us with the streetcar thing. No. Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
Yeah.
I already did that
sorry.
plan.
So, Sarah, I think it could be a good time
Sarah's
for
over there
staff
going.
report. Yeah. Sarah wants to say something, so we'll let her do her staff report now.
We did.
Thank you for.
We did review the application against the criteria for conditional use permits. The building, 1520 Swift, is in our downtown character area, and the parking lot would be in the industrial transition character area. Both of those uses are compatible with those character areas. The use of the properties is permitted in the M1 zoning district, and we don't see any concerns with compatibility or impacts on the public health, safety, or welfare. You mentioned traffic concerns. This is located on Swift and 16th Avenue, which are two major streets through town, both of which do have the ability to absorb additional traffic without a big impact on their overall capacity. So while there are some question marks about the overall impact of parking, we don't have concerns about pedestrian or vehicular traffic that will be a hazard to the neighborhood. In general, aside from the legal non-conforming situation, this use is really pretty typical of all the other conditional use permits you all have approved with regard to shared parking arrangements. And that's why staff recommends approval of the CUP. We did include 6 conditions for this. Number 5 and number 6 are our standard CUP conditions. But the first 4 are basically that we will do the site plan review of the parking lot the way we would for any new parking lot, and that the site plan or the new parking spaces will be maintained as noted on an approved plan. We will require the applicant to submit to us for review a parking agreement between the 2 lots that will be recorded with the county, and that the thing that I would really bring to your attention is number 4, that any improvements to the building that would result in the removal of dock doors or vehicle entrances will also be accompanied by removal of curb cuts and driveway aprons and the restoration of curb and sidewalk. Really, we have 2 concerns here. One is, if those entrances are going to be removed, we'd like the curb to be restored, but also that gives us the opportunity to perhaps add a few on-street parking spaces in areas that are currently open to allow for entrance there. So I would just bring those 6 conditions to your attention, and be happy to answer any questions myself.
Sarah, that's great. And I don't mean to be combative, but I do know that we're also entertaining a bike path down 16th that's going to increase traffic. I'm not anti any of this. I'm just want us to think about these things, because there's a lot of other things going on that are going to affect traffic and parking in that area. We're trying to, enhance and improve and expand into that area. Okay, I hope us all the success in the world, but that also means there's going to be more traffic, not only vehicular, but bicycle traffic. With the Iron District thing going up, there could be some more pedestrian traffic. I just want us to think about that, you guys. I'm not against any of this. I'm all for it. Just let's think about going forward. There's going to be all kinds of traffic down there, right? And I anticipate your endeavor is going to be hugely successful. So I just want us to think about that. Really, I don't mean to be combative, Sarah. I really don't.
Dave,
I'm all for this, but
Dave, since they built that new 2-story office building right just down across the street from there, we've also already getting some parking problems down there.
I know.
And that's the way it is here.
I know.
And we're going to have to live with it.
I know.
Well, it's a good problem to have, and I know what you're talking about, Mr. Mayor, and I think just more for your benefit. I know this is about a parking lot, and which I think is fantastic, and I hope that you're very successful and can find more places to put more parking lots down there, because it'd be great to have more parking. Because I know that there's been a push. I know the folks down there that came to the meeting, they want the 2-hour parking to be pushed further down 15th Street, which I think could have an impact on employees of yours, especially to that 105 number, which hopefully you do, wanting to try and use that parking on Swift to work, and will have further impacts. But I think those are all discussions for a different day and something to bridge across a different time. But I think for now, I think it's fantastic we're getting some more parking, and I think it's fantastic that we're getting this type of business opportunity in North Kansas City. So, any other questions or comments?
I'm just looking at the plan. I wanted to commend you for it. This may seem simple, but it looks like there's plans to save the existing tree that's on the lot there.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it is. I think our cities, we've had to make a lot of sacrifices to get parking put in since I've been here, and just had a lot of issues with trees that have to be cut down because of a lot of issues we've had in the city with aging trees and Japanese beetles and emerald beetles and everything else. So
Say my only disclaimer with that is that, I'm not an arborist, and while I located the tree when I prepared the preliminary site plan, its health and location, everything will have to be borne out as we get further into the engineering of the actual parking lot. But it's a beautiful tree. It would provide some nice character and shade for that if we can leave it. I'm sure everybody's in favor of that.
My final question is, what kind of timeline are we looking at on this to get the lot
The
in?
timeline, well, the licenses will not be awarded until December 31.
Okay.
So after that point in time, we will start, we'll start doing the renovations in the building, maybe a little bit before then, hopefully be ready when we get licenses. But as far as having employees in there, it'll be after January 1. The dispensary won't be operational probably until mid-April at the earliest.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Mayor? No?
In spite of everything I've said, welcome to North Kansas City.
Thank you. The city's been extremely supportive of us. We appreciate the opportunity to meet with the fire department, with the chief of police and everybody. This is the best city we have ever worked with from day one.
Very much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for your time. I know I don't have my cheat sheet, but I need to ask for comment. Yep. So any comments from the public or anybody else say anything? Sir? Yeah. You can come on up and introduce yourself, sir.
Right next to him. I mean, oh, I'm sorry. I'm Mike Quarles. I own the building right next to him. They have our dock doors are probably 10 feet apart on one side.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for him. I only came here because my concern was, just like he said earlier, and that's not what this is about, was, I'm worried about what happens with the odor or the noise if you got big fans. And obviously that's something that's happening another time, but.
Good.
But that's my only concern, and I'm really happy for him to be here too. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, if I were these people and wanted to be here, North Kansas City would be the best place to be. I mean, we got the best police, we got the best fire,
Thank you, Mike.
and
Thank
it's
you.
really good. So I'm excited. I'm really happy for you guys.
Good.
My name's Jack Mitchell. I'll just clarify one thing, it's going to take a second, but the state regulations provide that there has to be no discernible odors emanated from the facility. And we've already spent a large amount of money on our mechanical engineering, and these systems that go into these places are the most comprehensive sort of mechanical environmental control systems on the planet at this point. So there's a huge odor control component that's being put into the building, and we don't anticipate any odor issues that you're going to face like has happened in a lot of the other jurisdictions.
Great. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah. No, you're not, I don't think there's going to be any noise issues, and I just haven't heard of that concern, and it's a chiller type unit and super economical, but it's literally a mechanical system that's sort of unique around the country at this point in time. It's so specialized and huge investment, so.
That's great.
It's going to be all the latest technology, and that's one reason for the lower employee count is because every possible technology that exists at this point is going to be in this facility.
Great. Well, Sarah, sounds like you're going to be learning a lot about this process over the next few months.
I
guess
already
we-
have learned a lot.
Can close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion on PC 2019. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Mo-
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? You might not have the authority to just shut it down on a whim. Okay, I'll move on for a motion on PC 2019-05.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we recommend the approval of the conditional use permit 20-05 with the recommended amendments as mentioned by Sarah from the staff.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Thanks, everybody, for your time. Appreciate it.
This will appear on next Tuesday's city council agenda for final approval by the council.
Great. So moving on, any more comments from public? Seeing none. Comments from staff?
Wait, these guys are the public. They can't tell us how good a job we're doing? I'm just kidding.
My only comment would be a reminder of next Wednesday's Communities for All Ages meeting. We will not be here. We will be at the Parks and Recreation Center at 6 p.m.
And what was the topic for that again? There's like a specific topic for this one.
Housing and community development.
I
Community,
think it was something like that. Yeah.
community for all ages, right?
Yeah, but there's 6
That's the
subtopics.
umbrella. Yeah, so of the 6
It's not the
subtopics,
first
this one
one,
is
it's the
is
second one.
housing and community development. Is
Okay.
that the right title? That's the right title.
I won't be there, but you have my full support.
Any comments from commissioners? I do have one real quick, Sarah. I know we spoke in December about getting through the zoning piece, and now that it looks like we're pretty much there, that we'd look at actually forming some bylaws for, do you have kind of a process or like a timeline for kind of how that will work, and we'll maybe get there with that?
We've been collecting examples from other communities to help give us some guidance on, content. We have not really thought about timeline for that yet beyond after June.
Okay.
So I would anticipate July or August, we'll have an outline for you and some examples, and you can give us some feedback on those. But we would wait and see if we have a July or August meeting. This is something where if we don't otherwise cancel a meeting, we'll add this to an agenda.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add one more thing.
Sure.
Tuesday, I meant what I said. I didn't agree with everything we talked about Tuesday with the zoning stuff, but what a tremendous amount of work you and Chris and Mal, everybody did. And I so appreciate your work on that. It's fantastic. And
Thank you.
trying to get us, you know me, I'm a little bit, I want to get things done, but I get it. We're looking for the long term. We're looking at the long haul, and I get that. And you guys did some great work, and I appreciate that. I really do.
Thank you. I did think of one other thing I wanted to let you all know about. Today was our intern Anna Marie's last day in the office with us. She's graduating from UMKC and has a full-time job that she's going to start next month. We're really happy for her. We've hired a new planning intern who starts on Monday the 13th. His name's Bradley, and you will meet him probably next month at your next meeting. So he'll be full-time over the summer, and then will be a senior at UMKC next year.
Great.
Kudos
Thanks.
to you for doing the intern thing.
On that note, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh,
I got one more comment.
oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I jumped the gun.
We are commissioning a mural to go on that big wall right there north of the Brewski. And so, maybe our artist ought to talk to you folks a little bit to see what's going on there, but we're planning on painting the wall there, so keep that in mind.
You need to hide the leaf, though, as a little subliminal message, and then maybe in a couple of years you can.
No advertising is permitted. It's part of the mural program.
Way to go, Sarah.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great.
Thank you, guys. That was good. That was really good. I feel much better. No, I told you. Man. But I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I really do. I just,